Okay, right. Good evening. On a lighter note, I still think that we ought to stand up for our right to speak. I do not understand that the ANC government would expect us to be confined to only the information they feed us. Reason being, the ANC government is a very dishonest government because the ANC itself is an extremely dishonest organization, and this has been for decades. ANC has not been honest, in fact, for many, many years, for decades and decades. It's an organization that thrives on lies. It's an organization that thrives on dishonesty. And therefore, for me, it would be tantamount to foolishness to actually take what the ANC government says and just believe it as gospel truth and go with it. It would be tantamount to foolishness and stupidity. I want to say that the ANC government must allow an active debate on the aspect of COVID-19, the coronavirus. They should allow us to debate it and share ideas around the issue. One interesting thing about the so-called fake news and the so-called truth, which is peddled by government, and fake news, so-called fake news peddled in the social media by different individuals, is that this thing gets to be more political for me. I'm not saying the virus itself. I'm saying the views. They get to be political in the sense that I see two giants fighting, the East and the West. The East accuses the West of being responsible for this virus and the 5G and what have you. The West accuses the East of creating this virus. Now, if you then say we mustn't debate this issue, you are actually subjecting us to foolishness, because whether we fight this virus as we fight it, we ought to know the cause of it and the origin of it, so that we could be a little bit wiser and open-minded. So in my view, I think these views must both be entertained, and it is only South Africans, and predominantly Africans, who can be able to come up with what is actually the truth on these things. And those who are talking about the COVID-19 being caused by the 5G and the radiation and what have you, those who are predominantly pro-East against the West, which is, I don't know, probably the source of the 5G, I don't know. They seem to have a lot of facts that boggle the mind, that challenge one to think deeper, in the sense that this thing has been spoken about a few years back by a number of different people who are all from the West, by the way. And the vaccination was part of it right from the beginning. I know that there's a video flying around quoting Obama about 5 years ago, talking about this, and probably American government getting ready to face it when it comes. Bill Gates about 2-3 years ago also spoke about this thing. I've just heard another quote now from Henry Kissinger. I'm still following it up, doing a bit of research around that. I don't know. So I won't talk much about it because I've not done my own research on it. And I'm also not talking very openly because, you know, ANC people, it's not a joke. The ANC is a very evil organization. If you're not careful, you will go and stay in jail and leave your children suffering. You know, one friend of mine once said to me, Mbemf, be careful because brave and patriotic people like yourself are dead. You know, and he was right. We've buried a lot of people who are brave, who are willing to stand up to the powers that be. And therefore, you know, my wife was complaining that, you know, I mustn't think only for myself. It's something that she's always been saying, you know, over and over again. And sometimes it touches me that I, no matter how patriotic I want to be, I must think about my children. I must think about my wife, who has sacrificed so much to be with me all these years. And so, well, I don't want to be reckless. I want to talk, but I don't want to be reckless. Obviously, we are censored now. And this government has administered a lot of atrocities. We've seen, you know, people who were fighting for free education being arrested and subjected to a lot of pain and embarrassment. And therefore, whoever fights this government must be very careful, because this government is the same as the apartheid government. There's too little difference. The ANC government is as cruel as the apartheid government. But I don't want to waste time on that. Okay, fine. Back to this topic at hand. I think that there's nothing the ANC can do about the information. The information is already out there. Let us not succumb to them threatening us with arrest and disregard this information. Let us dissect every little piece of information that is in the public domain, and let us make our own decisions for our own families of what is good for us and what is not good for us. Let us make that determination by our own selves. We must not allow ourselves to be victimized by the ANC government or to be threatened by the ANC government. We must not. Obviously, one thing that is very interesting now about this period is that they can do whatever they want to do to anyone, because actually most of the laws of the country have been suspended. Parliament is suspended, so they are the law unto themselves. So even procurement processes now are suspended. They procure the way they want. They do whatever they want to do the way they want to do it. And there's nothing we can do about it. You stand up against them, those guys will arrest you. They are more cruel than the Boers, if not the same. They will throw you to prison. You will leave your kids and your family, and you'll have nothing to show for it. Obviously, theirs is about money, and if you stand on their way, they will deal with you. So whilst we must fight their evils and their atrocities, but we must be very, very careful about how we go about that. Otherwise, we might regret it. So I'm saying that the purpose of this video is to say, do not ignore any piece of information that is in the public domain. Do a comparative analysis by your own self. Use your own common sense, your own brain, to analyze and dissect information and reach your own conclusion. Make your own decisions about what you want to do, whether you will accept or not accept the vaccination, whether you will test or you will not test, whether you will do that or you will not do that, and so on. Do your own decision. Do not allow yourself to be at least do not allow your brain to be locked down. I think that's don't allow your brain to be locked down. Let them lock us down and keep social distancing. Do all sorts of good things that they say you must do. But don't you allow them to lock down your brain. Use your brain to think. Use your brain to process information. Use your brain to dissect every little piece of information and reach a conclusion using your brain. It's the only gift that God gave you which no man can touch. Thank you. Have a lovely evening.